What's up, guys? Welcome to, if we're doing episode numbers, whatever, but Cousins by Chance, DMs by Choice, a little talkback episode where me and Joe talk about world building, character design, all that good stuff. Today we're talking specifically about Varanth and the country that we've built, one of the four countries. As we are at the halfway point in our campaign, talked about Imperia. We haven't talked about Abyssinia yet, but
One day.
one day, stay tuned. But today we're going to be talking about the second country that we visited, which was Varanth. Yeah.
Which I also think we should probably talk about Heidi.
Oh,
because in the first Cousins by Chance, we talked about character creation for everybody, but Heidi's joined since then. So
absolutely, yeah.
we can talk about character creation for her. But Varanth was, this is all an vaguely Avatar-based campaign.
Vaguely.
This is the Fire Nation. If each country is an elemental, this is an element. This is fire. We thought, fire, war, all this kind of stuff. And so Varanth, I think, was on one of those like fantasy name generator type situations. And we knew we wanted it to be war-based. And when I was making up information, I decided on a chieftain as the leader. Which ended up being Chieftain Lordo, who at first was going to be like a big, formidable thing, but I thought what would be much funnier is if it was kind of like this old, shrivel up, like the lady asking for chocolate and SpongeBob type of dude. And he's just sort of the mascot for the world, for the country, and everyone loves him. And they bring him to all the challenges and stuff, and he's just kind of like, he's the bald eagle of, of Varanth. And so we decided on a war council. I was the one that made all of the politics, most of the politics for Varanth.
Not me.
And
not me.
No, Jesse hates politics. So we always say that Jesse puts the stones in the jar and I fill the cracks with sand.
Yep.
So Jesse made the map. He was like, there should be a giant volcano and there should be a town here and the capital's called Emberholm and all these things. And I'm the one who said, yeah, and at that volcano, there's a geyser spring that people go for vacations. Yep. And in Emberholm, there's this. And this is how the politics work. And so I think the thing that I was most proud of to make in all of the Varanth creation stuff was this idea of a council meeting and how they do that, because it's a war nation. So whereas Imperia is like this, people talk constantly and nothing ever happens. Varanth has this council meeting where someone proposes a thing, whatever, the law or whatever that is they're going to do. And if you object, you place your weapon on the table. Because in Varanth, to not do anything, to be a bystander, is saying that you agree with something. So if you agree, you say nothing. If you disagree, you put your weapon on the table. They talk it out. If they can't come to an agreement and get it to a unanimous vote, then they're going to have to do I don't know what I call it, a revote or something. I call for a revote. And that's when, like we saw with Azai and Ignatius fighting, timer starts, and if you were a yay, you agreed, you fight hand to hand. If you are a nay, you fight with weapon or spell. And you have to fight, and you either are trying to disarm a nay, forcibly changing their vote to yes, or you are trying to put a nay into a yay into a situation where they must draw their weapon or use a spell, forcibly changing their vote to no. So then by the end of the timer, anyone who has a weapon drawn or a spell ready, has used a spell, their vote has been changed to they disagree. Anyone who is disarmed by the end of the timer is saying that they agree, and then they recount. And so I was pretty proud of that. Yeah. We divided the country into 13 districts or whatever they're called, precincts. We decided to put Azai over the volcano one because he's sort of like the governor of Hawaii. Like, He's in charge of the volcano. He's like a big vacation touristy district. I thought that was funny. And then having Ignatius be like the big guy who's in charge of the capital, Washington D.C. felt right. And Heidi's gunning for that one, So that's a fun character goal arc, whatever, for her.
I'm pretty sure the politics weren't created until Heidi was created. Is that correct? Because we didn't bother with any of this until. So did Megan, when creating Heidi, did she originally, was she the first to be like, hey, I want to become some kind of political figure, and then that sparked an interest in you to make the politics, or was it like you guys kind of collaborated on that?
It was kind of backwards because I let her choose what nation to be from. She could either be from Abyssalia or she could be from Varanth. Now, I did ask her to be political in some nature because there's, like, the way we have it right now where we have 3 important people and then 3 non-important people, it works, but if we had another non-important person, it'd be like, why are they here?
Right.
And we decided that her basically taking the Varanthian politician spot would work, because Bart's not a politician.
Yeah.
And she ended up, like, the character that she really wanted to play ended up not actually being a politician yet, but she's somebody who's a lawyer, she's highly involved in politics, kind of works out all the same. But in discussion of all of that, she thought that Azai at first, it was just going to be like somebody that she's obsessed with and has, like, not really spoken to at length, like, kind of a deal. And that ended up changing as we went along. But the politics came about because of that, and also because she knew she was going to play a lawyer, so she did want to know more about Varanthian laws. And so Varanthian law is basically, like, there's some very thin commandments of, like, can't do this, can't do this, can't do this. But almost anything can be excused with the Revenge Act, which means if you can prove that the person had wronged you previously, anything you do to them can be pardoned. Yeah. And all of that is brought to, like, regional judges and that sort of thing to do it. But I think that adding in the politics accidentally tied in nicely to Cyrus stuff, because now we get this idea of, like, oh, crime gangs are, like, endorsing certain politicians. And they are paying, crime people to go and make sure that no one challenges them so that nobody can take their spot. That was another thing. This idea of challenging to get on the war council. You have to, like, put a date on the calendar for a challenge and campaign. Be like, yeah, if I win this fight, don't immediately try to overthrow me, please. I promise I'll be a good politician. But, like, any nobody could go there, which I think that's a fun, like, I think each country has a little bit of America in it just because that's where we live. And so there's,
right.
But Varanth has this, the thing that we love about America, and also the thing that really drags it down, this idea that anybody can be anything, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, that kind of thing. And it has this really awesome false promise that anybody can be on the war council. And while it's technically true, think about all the systems that are in place to ensure that the people that are on the council stay there. Yeah. And that, like, okay, sure, but you do still have to be the perfect Varanthian, which is physically strong and brave and courageous and all these things. What would you say are the countries that, doesn't have to be country, but what's the cultural melting pot of Varanth for you? Because I have an idea of, like, what cultures did we meld together to make into Varanth?
From, like, our real life cultures?
Yeah, from, like, real life cultures. So there's obviously, like we said, there's an American, gung-ho, bravery, right, bald eagle screech aspect to it.
For sure. Oh, man. Like, that's a really big one that kind of, like, takes up a good bit.
A lot of the pie.
Yeah, there's not a lot in my mind. Like, what about?
I'll tell you what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So when I made the sand of Varanth, it has the climate and physicality of like environmental physicality of like the Middle East,
Yeah.
but make it all red. So
Right.
like the Middle East, but it's red sand and dirt and clay instead. I definitely designed in my brain a lot of the cultural practices and a lot of the architecture is, or not architecture, a lot of the cultural practices and like, I guess that's the only term I'm looking for, is a lot of like Asian Japanese influence. Like you notice like Patrick sits on the floor to eat. They sit on cushions on the floor.
Yeah.
They took off their shoes when they entered somebody's house. I don't remember who it was. And I think a lot of the architecture is like Mayan Aztec. So there's a lot of like low to the ground, clay baked homes, that kind of thing. And a lot of Varanthians have like Irish, Scottish, gruff, more accents. I think Ireland has a decent chunk of the pie too, because Ireland people are known for being drinkers, fighters, but they're just like wildly expressionistic and passionate, loving, loud people. And so it's like America's a cultural melting pot, but a lot of the American spirit, it lives in Ireland. Like the Ireland spirit, the spirit of the Irish people is kind of a lot in there too, I think.
Right.
So like Ireland, Middle East, East Asia, and what was the other one I said? Aztec Mayan type of situation.
So you don't watch Star Wars, do you? So for the viewers that do watch Star Wars, think the planet Tatooine, which is a very like deserty planet that is run by a lot of gangs, and it's essentially Varanth, like a less deserty Varanth. Yes, there is deserts and there are things like that in Varanth, but it's more like brimstone, and you got
more habitable.
Yeah.
Very little vegetation. We talked about it's like a lot of red sand and clay and dirt. There are plants, there are flora and whatever. All of the civilization is based around whatever water sources there are.
A lot of manufacturing.
Yeah. The volcano is like a big environmental feature. So there's also some Hawaii in there because we said the Azores area is kind of this touristy area. Versus like, I don't know if we talked about this in the Imperia episode, but Imperia has a bit of America in it too. Like it's a democracy, I think is the main part. When I think we're making fun of the American politics system in Imperia. And I think we are making fun of the pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing in Varanth. But like Imperia was definitely had like Chinese influence on the architecture, but a lot of British and American influence on everything else.
Yeah.
So, but then I think I like Varanth. It's a fun cultural clash of like what we're used to in the real world. But, Heidi, I kind of said how she was created of like, Megan filled in for Lorik for us while Brooks had to take a semester off. And so she was going to sub, and I was like, hey, will you do this? You'll have a lot of fun, I promise. And then you don't have to do it anymore. And she said, no, absolutely. This sounds so fun. And there was part of the way through that Jesse was like, we should offer her a full-time PC role because it's so crazy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because like, and you might have talked to her about it beforehand, but wasn't I the one that texted you? It was like, hey, she's been subbing for quite some time, and I'd kind of feel bad if she just kind of dipped. So let's ask.
Hey, you played with her for 5 months. Do you want to like leave now, or yeah? And she got really into this idea of Heidi.
Yeah.
And Megan and I are best friends, and so we text probably every day. I mean, every day in general, but like when we're in a period of playing Terrador a lot, like Heidi's in our daily conversations, and Megan's such a dedicated player and such a like wholehearted actress where she's the kind of actress that like is really embodied into a character and will make playlists and she thinks about her characters outside of games and she'll send ideas and all this stuff. And a lot of what happened with Azai and all of these things was like, I know that I surprised Megan with this idea that Azai was into her. Like, she kind of thought that it was going to be this like one-sided like, he's never going to talk to me kind of thing. And I surprised her with that because I love flirting with my friends. I was not going to let that opportunity pass me up. But I thought that was very interesting. I think it's very interesting to have Maverick and Heidi as these like foils of each other, where Maverick starts with everything and then he kind of gets everything taken away from him. Yeah. And he has to decide that what he still has is enough. And he has to choose what he actually wants. Because he starts king of the world, frat boy, all the ladies he could ever want, drugs, alcohol, sex, rock and roll, you know, king of the world, best politician in the world. And then he gets everything taken away from him. And he has to decide that his street rat, assassin girlfriend, and his, you know, loosely held political office, and his role in the envoy, and the frog that hates him, and the envoy that barely tolerates him is enough. And so and then all of the other stuff that we put him through, where he almost died a bunch of times. Versus Heidi, who starts with nothing, kicked out of her house at 18, or leaves her house at 18, abusive family, leaves, goes to law school. She's really the Varanthian dream, pulls herself up by her bootstraps, goes to college, is going to become a lawyer, does some grassroots campaigns. She campaigns for politicians. She helps, you know, she stays in contact with her best friend that she's in love with while he's away at war. Can't have him. He's too popular. And then, you know, he comes back. She, from a distance, admires him as she helps him with the campaign, gets him elected. And then she just kind of watches Azai seething with jealousy as she's stamping for Ignatius Fenton, this guy that she hates, and looks at Azai, who has the exact life that she wants. I think it's an interesting foil to start Maverick here, and we just beat the hell out of him and see how he reacts to it, versus Heidi kind of started here, hating her life, every day sucks, and then we give her everything. Yeah. And see what she does with it. You know, will Maverick go crazy with jealousy and kill himself because he is lost the life he has?
For a fourth
there's
time.
A theme tonight. Sorry. And will Heidi go mad with power? And like, because she's been with the envoy, I mean, counting hell, like, 6 months? Counting hell, which felt like 20 minutes for her.
She's technically been following the envoy for much longer.
And she's been following the envoy the whole time. That was from the beginning, too. We were like, because Megan had seen the show, she'd seen the campaign, and so we were like, since you know everything, wouldn't it be funny if you just kind of like had followed them the whole time? But yeah, and Heidi's been with the envoy, a part of it, for 6 months, and you know, she gets the boy. She has an amount of power now. I mean, she's basically the leader of this envoy, and she's approaching this political power where, like, Ignatius has been offering her, give me some dirt and I will make something happen for you. And I think Heidi's at this crossroads right now where once we start playing again, and, you know, if we get out of jail, I don't know, then she has this choice to make of, like, I could have everything. Yeah. I could have the boy. I could have the title. I could make some change in Varanth like I want to. But I'd have to be like Ignatius to do it.
Yep.
So there's this real, like, crossroads that she's getting to that I think is really interesting. It's giving a character that has nothing, everything, and then just going, what are you going to do with it? Right. You just won the lottery. How are you going to spend your money?
And it all kick-started by joining this envoy.
Yeah. I feel like I talked for most of that, but I also know that I was a heavy lifter in Varanth, so...
Yeah. 'Cause I think in the world build, like, I mean, like you said, I like to build the boulders and you do the sand kind of thing, but I feel like I had a pretty heavier influence on like Imperia and the sessions before, and before entering Varanth, I think we had a conversation where I was like, "Hey, you know, do you want to split this up?" It was right after I did the Empyrean, and I was like, "Man, I kind of like I enjoy playing a god and playing the Empyrean, but like I texted you, I was like, hey, do you want to split up to where, you know, if they meet Varathorix, do you want to play Varathorix? If they meet the Kraken, do you want me to play the, and like kind of split up a little bit, and then you really took the reins on Varanth.
Yeah, and like for a little peek of what's coming, like we're in Navasalia for right now. Who knows, right? But we know that there's unfinished business in Varanth.
Yeah.
With no spoilers, like we know that that's true. We literally were at a Halloween party. We were subpoenaed. We were supposed to be staying there, and we got teleported there. So like, read between the lines. Read between the lines. We'll be back. Yeah. There was a lot of storylines that never got tied off, and we'll be back. Sort of mechanically or like outside of game, we wanted to be in Abyssalia for this Lorik stuff to happen. Yeah. And so we were like, even if it's kind of goofy, how can we make that happen? And it had some drama too of like we've broken our subpoena now, so we have to figure that out. But we knew that Lorik that Brooks would be leaving the campaign, so we had to figure something out. Yeah. And Brooks had also, as Lorik, been hinting and foreshadowing for a very long time in character that he was going to die. Yeah. So, and one day, someday soon, these spirits will leave, and who knows I don't know what'll happen to me, but it'll be over. It'll be nothing. And we were like, yeah, that feels like maybe what he's been hinting like should happen. So, yeah. So we love Brooks, and we hope he'll come back and, I don't know, DM a session or play an NPC or, play Lorik in a flashback or something. And there's no like bad blood, and he's not even like busy. He just, things are happening in real life for him, and he's all good, but he needed to step away for scheduling purposes. But I was going somewhere with that. So we needed to be in Navasalia, but the plan has always been to be in Varanth for a long while after this. Varanth is huge, and there's so much in it, and there's 3 PCs that live here, because admittedly with Imperia, we didn't know what we were doing yet, and a lot of Imperia was wander around, find library, find clue, figure out mystery. Vampire. And then war, God, leave. Yeah. And we had to tie in politics and monks throughout that whole time, because that was Theo and Maverick's deal. Right. But here we have to tie in crime, the boss, fame, right now the boss. I mean, the boss is directly impacting Bart right now, but then there's also this Bart doppelganger that's been going around. Yeah. And politics, Heidi with this offer from Ignatius and all these things. And so all of those things need to be resolved, but then we also have this main plot where they've just found out that the governor's not on their side, and the envoy was a distraction for something bigger. And so they're going to have to do something about that too, which isn't necessarily Varanth tied, but there's a lot to happen here. And if they were subpoenaed to stay in Varanth until further notice, I don't remember exactly what the envoy was told about why they're subpoenaed, but there's kind of 4 different storylines that all need to be tied up here, while also hopefully, Lorik's gone now, but while also hopefully not neglecting Maverick and Theo. The monks are following Theo. They're not in Abyssalia right now, but they're in Varanth and waiting for Theo. So stuff can happen with that. And Maverick is taking, he's been sending these laws back to Imperia, and so we'll get to at least hear a little bit back about that. But Maverick was also such a prominent character in that first leg. that like for now, I know that Danica has said that she's hoping Maverick can kind of take a backseat and play support for Cyrus for a little bit.
Right. And Maverick was
and like the same thing
part.
there. Right, exactly. He was such a huge part of that first leg of the campaign that, we've even talked about Maverick potentially, going back to Imperia for a little bit and having Danica just kind of take a hiatus from the campaign. Not for any, like, necessarily any outside of game reason, but just, like, waiting until there's something better to do, And there's some scheduling things going on, too, but, again, like, there's nothing wrong. It's just that with a campaign this long, it's impossible that everyone's going to be playing the whole time.
For sure.
We're going to have periods where it's like, you know what? I have a lab that goes until 9 p.m. on Thursdays, and that's the only time that everyone else can play. Maybe my character goes back to his home country for a while, and that's not Danica's situation, but that's just an example.
Right.
So we have those 4 storylines, plus we want to make sure that Theo and Maverick are not neglected. Plus, I mean, Laika and Hugh have, Laika, Kiana, Necklace, like what's going on there. We know there's a brother situation, so there's stuff going on there, which, hey, we're Kiana. If Kiana has to not do much, that's okay. Yeah. We're the one that gets sacrificed, but there's a lot to go on. So we know that we're going back to Varanth. And we know that we'll be in Varanth for a while. And then probably go
So we are not going back to hell. Good grief. That was
I'm so glad we did it. We didn't even talk about hell in this episode. Yeah.
So much fun, but it's so long.
Yeah. Which, like, that's another reason why Varanth is so long, is because Imperia, we've decided to have a natural barrier, natural thing to navigate in each nation. So in Imperia, that was the forest. In Varanth, that was supposed to be hell. And it is hell. It's not supposed to be. It is hell. We know that there's a volcano that we keep pointing at from across the map. Maybe something will happen with that. Who's to say? Depends on what they do and what the dice do. But that's another reason why it's going to take so long. I mean, hell, I had this idea that we would do, because this was right around paternity leave baby time for Jessie. So Jessie was going to be taking a break. I was like, we're going to go to Limbo, this first layer, and the original plan was doing 3 layers a session, which if you go back and watch the videos, it's one video. So we filmed one long stretch and then we chopped it up into 3 smaller episodes for each one. And we filmed we did 3 layers for the first one, and that was literally 6 hours. So then we did 2 for the rest of it. But I did Limbo as one session, then we went on paternity leave. So I got everybody ready while we played some one-shots while Jessie was away. And I remember I was like, hey guys, you don't have to do this, but I think it'd be really cool, and I'll give you guys some options. You can either say, I don't want to do this, I do not want to DM, please don't make me. You can say, you write it, and I'll do it. Or I can, like, help you come up with something. And for most of them, it was just, like, they told me what they were going to do, and I helped them. And if anything was, like, not lore compatible,
right,
I helped them out. Which didn't really matter in hell. It can kind of be whatever.
Yeah.
And so then it was like, okay, now let's schedule. Who's going to do everything when? And then we told them to make it 45 minutes. That didn't exactly happen for everybody. It was more like an hour and a half or something. But everybody wanted to do it. And everybody wanted to pretty much, like, do it completely on their own. And I'm glad that that's happened. Because now not only every Terrador member, but every cast member on Whispers of the Dice has DM'd before.
Right.
So, like, we're having, during this hiatus, which you're watching this during the hiatus, we have one-shots coming up that we're going to do basically to space out some time before the semester ends. We'll start playing Terrador again in March. So in January through February, we're going to be playing some one-shots. Just to warm back up, give Jessie and I some more time to plan.
Right.
Do something different, fresh start, whatever. And so it was nice to be able to text Josie and Abby, the 2 DMs, and just say, can you do this? And they go, yeah, sure, because they've DM'd before, and they know how, and it's fine. They know how to do it. But Hell was wonderful, but it was long. And so we decided to do it based on Dante's. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. And I'm not sure if I told you this yet or not, but I'm not even gonna go into it in great detail because we'd be here for 5 hours. But I'm a lore junkie. I love lore. I'm constantly writing all this, ridiculous stuff. I'm even writing lore for our next campaign.
Jesse makes me so mad about that. Not mad, but like he'll text me and go, I have an idea for what we could do for our next campaign, and I go,
yeah.
Jesse, write it down somewhere. I can't.
Right.
I cannot look at 2025.
But all I have to say is the however many episodes that we had for the Hells. All I'm going to say is that technically, according to the lore that I've written out, those episodes had just scratched the surface of what all Hell entails. There is so much more lore behind, each layer of Hell. The rulers of the layers that each DM created are merely just like puppeteers of a much bigger entity ruling that layer. There's so much. Like I said, I won't go into it because we will be here for 5 hours. But that's also like Hell was very fun, and I thought about getting into like the deep stuff, but yeah, we would have been there. We would still be in there now, honestly.
We'd still be in Hell, and I would die.
Yeah.
It's this like, it has to be this very complex world of its own because that's where demons live. That is the Orenica for all of the demons and devils, and that kind of thing. And like having the little moments like where Patrick has a back door into one of the layers because he's in love with a demon. Like we have the hint that we are just looking at the roots. You know what I mean? And it's like this kind of trial situation where you go through the 9 and then they let you out. It's set up as if the demons and devils have made it a tourist attraction. Yep. They've made it like this. We love watching humans suffer.
Right.
Let's have Morthar here be the one who sits in gluttony and pretends to be a waitress and tortures humans. It's just entertainment.
Yeah.
And you can imagine that there's a bunch of demons looking over the shoebox of the 9 layers of Hell and just watching and giggling.
Yeah.
But
beautiful.
Hell. Well, plenty of Varanth to come. And maybe in the next quarterly recap, we'll be talking about Abyssalia too, and we will probably be talking about Varanth more. So, but I think that's good. Do you have anything else to say about Varanth?
Did you want to talk about
/ Heidi?
The boss, any?
The boss was, I do, because the boss. Actually, I do. Jesse makes all of our bad guys. That's true. I don't want to do that. And he talked to me about this boss to oppose Cyrus, which, oopsie on our end, there are 2 bosses in Orenica, because that was supposed to be his name, but the guy who put the hit out on Maverick and Imperia, Josie just kept referring to him as the boss, because that's the guy said, my boss wants this, whatever. But the boss, Don Marino, I think, is played by Nolan. I did not know that was going to happen, so if you go back and watch the reveal, that was the worst episode ever because of technical difficulties, but it was the best episode ever because I love when something happens that I don't plan. And and so I literally just thought, like, Nolan had watched Terrador before, like that wasn't new. So seeing him pop up, I was literally just about to be like, oh, haha, don't forget to turn off show non-participants,
right.
Non-video participants, so he doesn't mess up the recording. And then I went, wait a minute, we're not in Whispers of the Dice server where Nolan has access to it. We're in the Terrador server. Terrador has its own server, it now has all of Whispers of the Dice cast members in it, but it once just had the 8 of us. And so I was like, how did he get in here?
Why is he wearing a suit?
Added him? And then he said, what? He's awesome. Nolan's awesome.
That was a whole, literally 2 days before session. I was gonna play the boss. I had full plans on doing that. And like 2 or 3 days before session, I was like, this might be fun. So I texted Nolan and I was like, hey, I know we've never really met before, but
That made it double surprising.
yeah, but I've heard a lot of good things about you. I've seen some cool things with the caveman and like, all that kind of stuff. Would you like to do this? And immediately he was like, absolutely. So I sent him the information and the rest is history.
Nolan and I have talked since then, and he was like, that was the best experience of my life because I caught you off guard. Nolan and I are connected souls.
A flow state.
He's my best friend. And my best friend Nolan Peacock told me, he's like, because you're always the marionette of everything. You always know what's going on. To be able to catch you off guard and to like surprise you was like his favorite thing. To see me go, oh, Jesse, you did this! You did that!
Yeah.
And I think that it's great that he's a double threat. That like Heidi hates the boss by principle, but he personally affects Cyrus and Bart, so all of Varanth hates him. Perfect.
And
it's awesome.
I created the boss while we were probably even before the Enchanted Forest, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I had this idea of this, like I remember specifically I was testing for I think like SAT or something. And like while the kids were doing their thing, I was just sitting there staring at the wall, just thinking
Violations happened because Jesse wasn't paying attention.
No, yeah. Just thinking to myself, Terrador, all that kind of stuff. And then I thought of first the character, like the character itself, the concept of it. A were shark that is a mob boss. So it's a a loan shark is the play on words. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. So like when I got home, I started like Googling images of like I googled I think like shark in a suit or whatever. And there's so many terrible options. And then I came across the picture that I found, and it was this huge beefy shark in a tuxedo holding a cigar, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is everything that I could want and more. And I was thinking this has to be like it's a shark. He's probably like 12 foot tall, like hulking individual, has to play like a very significant role. I want him to play, and for the Spider-Man fans out there, I based him off of Kingpin.
Yeah.
And
that's
oh my
awesome.
gosh, I had this whole character thing in the back burner, and it wasn't for another like year and a half until we finally had it into fruition.
And I love having guest stars. It is only like really impactful and nice if it's somebody that everybody knows. Like if some rando joins, they're like, okay,
my college friend, like that only I know.
They'd be like, right. But like Carter was the first one to join, and that was anybody who went to my college knew who Carter was. And Carter played Maverick's dad and then played Lorik a few times to fill in. And that was awesome. I mean, that was like electric having Carter play Maverick's dad, because no one had ever had a character, guest star before. And so the surprise was there, and like Carter just wanted to watch and like all these things, and nobody really knew how the recording worked yet. So even though he had his camera on and covered, nobody was like, hey, isn't this gonna mess with the recording? Because we had just started doing it. So like nobody knew. And you didn't know either. And you didn't know who this guy was. So you were like, whatever. But Carter's cool. And me, Brooks, Danica, Abby, all knew him. Yeah. And so the only people that didn't were you, Josie, and Josie and Dev. But then like Carter came back a few more times to play Lorik, and then we go on to Scully as Serafina. We told them ahead of time. We said like, yeah, so you guys know we're going to the wedding, so that I don't have to role play a wedding with myself. Scully's gonna come play Serafina. It'll be awesome. Horde of Verse happened. It was great. Yeah. Then Nolan as the boss, which was duly surprising because I didn't know Nobody knew.
Right.
It was awesome.
I didn't know
And
until
then
the day before. Like,
I didn't know until the day before. It was great. And then Aaron came in to play Griff Grath, who honestly just, we just needed a tutorial character for Devin. Not a tutorial character, but like just a fun, silly character for a fun, silly episode. Like Halloween, one of Bart's fans is going to come along and it's like, have fun with Bart. If that character has any further significance, I mean, we know he's been kidnapped now, so whatever further significance this has for Bart's character development, it's to be determined. But like, Bart needs a friend too, so like a friend that's not a PC. So I was excited about that. And Aaron and Devin are like a weird dynamic duo. Yeah. So they'd met a couple times before, and they play Minecraft together now we have a Minecraft server, and which we're gonna play in 20 minutes. And I'm so excited. And they're a fun pair too. And I hope eventually we're at the point now where we can't surprise them with guest stars anymore, because it's like, oh, MJ's just here to watch the session. Oh, I'm sure. And like Aaron had watched 5 or 6 sessions before that, but no one was surprised necessarily when he joined as a guest star, which is fine, but
we can cut this out. But yeah.
Hey, Jesse, cut this out!
Technically, we can still surprise, because we've been adding people because of the Minecraft thing. And what I did with Nolan, because he wasn't on
Minecraft and Doodle are both,
because Nolan wasn't watching during that episode. He was completely on standby, and whenever we went on bathroom break, it was like the last 5 minutes of the bathroom break, I added him real quick and texted him, now, get on now, like as quick as possible.
Yeah, and like,
so technically we could still surprise him, but
I don't care if this part's in there. My goal and my dream is that one day all of the sleepover is what we call the caveman group. All of the sleepover will guest star at some point. So, and they're all in the server currently, because we play Minecraft on there, and everybody does Wordle on there every day. But excuse me, like Scully's been on, Aaron's been on, Nolan's been on. That leaves Hale and MJ of the non-Terrador cast members, the folks that were in Cavemen. Hale and MJ can at some point in the last 10 levels, if an NPC pops up, they might partake.
Possible.
I don't know.
Possible.
Well, nobody has any plans right now, but who's to say? And then if we're later in the game and they've already gone and we want more, Hymns of the Holler called in a few new players that had not yet been on the channel. So Hannah, Eli, Morgan, Eve. So, but yeah,
who knows what the future will tell.
I'm excited. Who knows? Anything else about Varanth?
Not really. I think we covered just about all. Finally killed that fire giant that we resolved from Imperia.
From Imperia? Oh my god, yeah. Well, if you guys, and oh, 1 second, my phone's ringing.
It's the big leagues.
Yeah. Hello?
Critical Role, Dimension 20.
Okay. Right. Okay. Okay, yeah. Yeah, thanks for calling. Okay, bye. We just hit 1 million subscribers. But yeah, thanks for kidding, that didn't happen, but if you want it to,
tell your friends.
Click like, comment, subscribe, and wait for the hiatus to be over so soon, probably April of 2025-ish. And that's it.
2026 or in 2025.
April of 2026. And bye.